Okay, so it's been about 48 hours since the Shadow of the Erdtree trailer debuted, and I already have quite a few fresh thoughts since my last upload, which was just a raw reaction to what we saw with no kind of outside input. And I've also had a chance to check out Miyazaki's interviews. The only one I thought revealed much of anything interesting was the Famitsu one, so of course I'm working off of a translation there and taking some details with a grain of salt. So the main topic I want to address is Messmer the Impaler. While I'm still thinking through his dragon connection, his dragon aesthetic, I am beginning to believe he may be quite a bit more interesting than I initially thought, and I can't help but go back to Weeping Peninsula and be reminded we encounter a location called Impaler's Catacombs. Now, it's not the most remarkable mini-dungeon, but at the end there is an Erdtree burial watchdog, a guardian of the Erdtree roots and of this special burial rite in the lands between where, when people die, they're essentially given back to the roots of the Erdtree. Now, what do we really know about this process? Is there any chance that some of those given to the roots aren't reborn in the light of the Golden Order, but in the shadow of the Erdtree? Because I have been thinking that this shadow realm could largely be home to people who are not blessed by grace. But back to Messmer, when he says mother in the trailer, I know some have speculated he could be referring to the Formless Mother, and that's possible. But I do think it's Marika. And in Miyazaki's Famitsu interview, he says Messmer is referred to as a child of Marika. So this catacomb could just be a cute little reference, even a retcon, sure. But then not too far away to the west, there's the Church of Pilgrimage, where we find a Radagon statue and a ghost NPC who says, "O Marika, Queen Eternal, he is your unwanted child." Now, this is also nearby one of the first wandering mausoleums you'll encounter, which we know are the resting places of soulless demigods who were Marika's children. Here's what I'm thinking. Maybe Marika didn't want Messmer and hid him away in her dreams, effectively creating the Shadow Realm, which he then began to shape and influence over time, almost like a painted world from Dark Souls. And we know Saint Trina is associated with sleep and may be Mikola or connected to Mikola in some way, hence Marika's bedchamber veils over the Shadow Tree. And the more I study this vista, it almost looks like the sky is on the verge of collapsing above the tree, as if the tree itself is holding up the sky, not unlike Atlas holding the world, which in Greek mythology, Zeus punished Atlas for his rebellion by forcing him to bear the weight of the world. I don't know, this could be irrelevant here, it's just something to consider. Along with the possibility that the Shadow Realm could physically, geographically, be an underworld of sorts that literally props up the lands between and its golden Erdtree, hence why its sky appears so heavy. We know Miyazaki loves the idea of layers and something important sinking or hiding at the very bottom, at the depths. A veil is basically a shade or covering, a shield from the light of the Golden Order. So I wonder if it were to be removed or dispelled, if the Shadow Realm would cease to exist, or at least cease to exist as it currently is, because the veil doesn't appear visible in that final shot of the trailer where Mikola, or maybe Marika, seems to be working some kind of magic. The game also never tells us when we see Marika essentially crucified on a rune of the Elden Ring inside the Erdtree, why she's impaled with this amber-looking shard or branch or spear, an item that does not look completely dissimilar to the one we see impaled through this guy, clearly some adherent of the Golden Order in the trailer. Someone important enough he was enshrined in a painting. Here's a goofy idea. What if this is Messmer's father, and the woman in the painting is Marika, her hand resting on her pregnant stomach? And perhaps this war we keep hearing about is not the Shattering, but an earlier war, one between those in favor of the Erdtree and the Order, and those against them. Am I implying Messmer tried to kill both of his parents? Yes, I am, at least Marika. He had to do something big to get a nickname like the Impaler. I do think, though, on a larger scale, his name is probably a nod to Vlad the Impaler, a Romanian prince from the 15th century who inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula. And visually, he just seems to represent everything that's blasphemous in the lands between. Fire, serpents. Perhaps Messmer was a casualty of this war, literally or figuratively. Maybe he was left behind. These possibilities, this whole train of thought feels very Bloodborne to me, an entire world existing in a dream. Where should I hide my unwanted baby? Oh, in a dream, of course, because I'm Marika, the worst mother of all time. So whether it was in a dream, or through the tree roots, or a mausoleum, I suspect Marika is responsible for Messmer's placement in the Shadow Realm. He certainly feels like Elden Ring's nameless king, you know? Maybe he was even Marika's firstborn. We're told Godwyn is the firstborn of Marika and Godfrey, but could there have been another before Godfrey? Or Messmer could simply be Radagon's bastard, given the red hair. Now, Miyazaki did say Messmer's recognized as a child of Marika, but that doesn't necessarily preclude him from being Radagon's bastard either, because at some point, Marika and Radagon, who were two separate people, became one. Messmer could very well be one of the triplets, not twins, along with Melania and Mikola, given their naming conventions and the fact that we find 3 unique butterflies in the game: nascent, Aeonian, and smoldering. The nascent butterflies may be associated with Mikola. Their flavor text even mentions a cocoon. The Aeonian butterfly flavor text explicitly says its wings were once the wings of the goddess of rot. That leaves the smoldering butterfly, whose flavor text says it's eternally burning. Perhaps a reference to Messmer. And I'm wondering if this crazy looking flame he wields incorporates elements of the many different flames we see throughout the game. The black flame, the blood flame. Visually, it even calls to mind Malekith's black blade and its death beams. There's also an entirely different possibility where Mikola, in casting away his physical form in the lands between, the bloodied, emaciated arm hanging out of the cocoon in Mogwyn Palace, took a new form in the Shadow Realm, and maybe that's Messmer. Or Messmer is a dark or inverse aspect of Mikola, but I'm not entirely convinced of this theory. In the end, I like this idea of triplets. I like this idea of Marika creating a dream realm and hiding Messmer there. Time is very, very strange in the universe of Elden Ring. It's so hard to sense how old characters are. They could be 20, 30, 300, 4,000 years old. We just don't know. And I keep going back to this one line from Miyazaki's interview. In fact, the Shadowlands are where Marika became a god and where the Erdtree was born. That makes me think the origin story here might not be as simple as the Greater Will firing the Elden Beast / Elden Ring / Erdtree seed into the lands between with a cosmic slingshot, which is the idea I had believed up until this point, sort of seeing the Greater Will as this colonizing force from space or another dimension. And this is all further complicated by the idea that the Crucible, this primordial soup of life, preceded the Erdtree. And the flavor text for the aspects of the Crucible wielded by the Crucible Knights speaks of this idea of the Crucible being a place where all life was once blended together. Hence these aspects featuring horns and wings, and I don't know, in this trailer we saw so many strange creatures and concoctions. Yes, wings, snouts, fangs, horns, definitely horns. And the penultimate scene shows the player character activating what I think may be a new aspect of the Crucible in battle against Messmer. And we know in the Shadow Realm, Messmer has a throne, not unlike the thrones of the other demigods from the base game, who are quite possibly not only his contemporaries, but siblings. Maybe even more than Mikola at the moment. I'm so interested to learn more about Marika, who was, I don't know, just a random person before becoming the vessel of the Elden Ring. She was a Numen who are said to come from beyond the lands between. But where exactly? If the land of shadow isn't a dream, is it a real place? Maybe her homeland that either she or the Will have since sealed off? And why did Marika desire a world without destined death? What prompted her to want this? And remove the rune of death from the ring and entrust it to Malekith. Because it wasn't Godwyn's death. Godwyn's death comes later. Marika already feared death before the Night of Black Knives. We also know she waged a war against the fire giants, essentially to protect the Erdtree from the giants' flame of ruin. Yet she later married and fused with a red-haired man who may have descended from those same giants. Again, Messmer could come from Marika's distant past, or he could come from the Radagon era. It's anyone's guess at the moment. My mind just starts spinning the more and more I think about all of this. Not even to mention some of the gameplay stuff, from the 8 new weapon types to apparently an attack power system in the DLC, which could be very helpful and interesting in terms of scaling and difficulty. This idea of having a Limgrave-sized map, which is huge, with a bunch of bosses, multiple legacy dungeons, a bunch of mini dungeons. But tell me if you jibe with any of the ideas I was speculating about here, or share your own comments below. It's going to be an exciting couple months, especially once we get another trailer. And look, I know we have some Gideons out there who believe they know everything, and their headcanon is airtight and all nicely buttoned up. I'm just having fun. I'm just speculating. So if you disagree with any of my theories or have an idea of your own I didn't touch on, tell me what it is. Share it down in the comments. Over the last couple years, I've featured a lot of community art in my YouTube thumbnails, and if you follow me, you know I often feature the incredible work of my friend Jorge Perez, whose pen name is Ariamis Arts. Somehow, in such a short time, Jorge, like so many artists in the community, already created this stunning digital painting of Messmer. A link to his artwork is down in the description. Do go check it out. He does amazing stuff. And I think it's worth noting just how smitten most of the community has been with this character in just a few days' time. He's seemingly captured everybody's interest. Additionally, feel free to keep the conversation going over in my Discord server, Terapop's Treehouse, or you can unlock a bunch of ongoing and archived bonus content from me, podcasts, newsletters, early video previews, over at my Patreon page. Both of those links are down in the description, and of course, likes and subs here on the channel are always appreciated too. So thanks for watching. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on Messmer and the Shadow Realm, and yeah, I will catch you next time.